1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay, hello, I'm back again. So here's the rest of this story. I don't think it will take another 20 minutes. It's almost there. Let me see. Okay, police siren. Racing out of the horizon at rocket-like speed and hurling down the road came a here we go. Came a glinting motorcycle of powerful ebony metal. Once again, if I just fucking read one more sentence, I would have got my answer, but this is the kind of person I am. The rider was dressed as dark as his machine, no regard to the heat of the day. A helmet and gloves covered even the parts of his body most often seen, and he blew straight past the boy's fence with deafening speed. Only a moment later, the police car followed, flying at top speed. The blaring screech of the siren coming louder, and then wow. I don't know how to do a police car siren. The siren blew around the corner of sound, and then it got dimmer. Both vehicles quickly disappeared off into the distance as they put block upon block behind them. Holy shit, Gray breathed out, eyes wide, mouth open. He laughed, half amazed and overflowed with excitement, almost jittery with nervousness. Did you see that? Charlotte yelped to him in the same state. That was unbelievable. I think that rider looked at us when he went by. How can you fucking tell? No way. Yeah, I saw him turn his head. Oh my god. From the distance, then, following the vanished silhouettes of the rider and car, were the sudden burst of explosion. Gray and Charlotte's eyes immediately turned towards the empty horizon, as if watching for visible signs of what they've heard. The loud snap of firecrackers, but with a dull booming undertone, forcing the otherwise childlike sound into eerie adulthood. Whoa. So they shot the motorcyclist? That's what I'm guessing the police just shot at him, didn't hit him. The door behind them, or maybe the other way around, maybe he shot at them with one hand while he's riding a motorcycle. So badass, you know? But we didn't see it, so who knows. The door behind them flew open, though they were too preoccupied with wide-grin fascination to notice. The man, Charlotte's father, came racing out of the house and across the lawn, hurried and horrified, hair falling apart in strands and cuffed shirt sleeves rolled up sloppily to his elbows. He threw an arm around his son's torso and snatched Gray by the arm, yanking both boys fervently away from the fence, almost off their feet. When we hear gunshots now, we don't even care. This is obviously a quiet neighborhood. He pulled them towards the house, seeming as if he would carry them in his own hands if it would hurry them just a half moment quicker. Come on, boys, he demanded. Inside, it's not safe out here. Dad, quit pulling us, Charlotte complained. I mean, okay, we would care if the gunshots were, literally, right outside the house. You know, obviously, you don't want that. But, down the street or something to where you can't even see, okay, we probably wouldn't care, you know? Especially if the cop is already there. What are you gonna do? Call the cops? The cop's already part of it, so all you can really do just go inside like they're doing. Wait a minute or something. Probably don't even have to, you know, unless you see something. Look, nobody's gonna hit you with a bullet if you're not even close enough to see them, unless it's a sniper. But that's a whole other story. Anyways. I mean, it's not gonna happen by accident, is what I'm trying to say. Where was I? Dad, quit pulling on us, Charlotte complained, squirming when he could, but putting most of his energy into simply keeping his legs moving fast enough to keep up and not be dragged. Then get indoors, the man barked in answer. Don't you know gunshots when you hear them? Clearly they do have a house with a fence, so they're clearly living the American dream here. But like I said, that's part of the story, so, you know. You sure this is the house? Charlotte mumbled, following his friend along the sidewalk and peeking idly around his path for something to kick. His hands sat heavily, bored in the pockets of his shorts. Yeah, I'm sure, Gray answered back, as if it was obvious, his tone said, as if he'd already clarified 1,000,000 times. This house is 3 houses away from me, and it's been empty forever. Remember we looked for a Bat King in there once? A Bat King? I like the Rat King? That's funny. Charlotte tilted his head, scrunching his face a bit as he struggled to recall it. But finally the shy memory revealed itself to him and the light of success came to his young face. He laughed. Oh yeah. Gray smiled back at him. Then it's funny when you read all those young not children, but like young adult, or what, I don't know what you call like younger than young adult, because young adult usually implies teenager, but younger than that, like, but older than kids, little kids books, like basically books like short novels and stories and stuff for kids like 7 years old to like until you're into the teenage books, basically. You know, like elementary school style books. Like, I just know on those books, they always like book fair books, basically, you know. They always like say shit like this about their face, like they scrunched up their face and they like wrinkled their nose at this and that and da da da. I don't know if people really do that many, like, it seems kind of like theatrical, like people always do like more with their face than people would do in real life, you know. At least that's how it comes off, or maybe the author just likes to like think about that stuff more, you know. But like sometimes I read it, I'm just like imagining these people doing these just dramatic like turn of the century like theatrical like expressions, like silent film type of shit, and it's just like I don't think people emote that much, you know, especially not now. But anyways, or ever, I don't know. Where was it? Gray smiled back at him. We got that Bat King pretty good, huh? Yep, Charlotte nodded. Shot him to pieces. Gray let his grin linger a second. Gray let his grin linger a second longer. That sentence is kind of like a tongue twister. As he looked back over his shoulder. Then, in a heartbeat, he turned his head away from Charlotte's again and nodded forwards. There's the house. Okay, I'm expecting a call, but actually, nah, I'm not gonna fucking check it. It didn't say 916, so. Blah, 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 blah. There's the house, he pointed out as quick as he could, filling with excitement in an all-new form. His footsteps instantly doubled in speed as he made his way towards it. And see, there's the motorcycle right in front. Like, what did I say? Charlotte laughed. Okay, he answered, brushing off his friend's pride as he too quickened up his pace. Awesome, you think anyone's home? Hard to tell. The curtains are all closed. Well, shit, what are we waiting for? Charlotte pushed on some extra speed then, almost jogging, and laughed a little as he surpassed Gray. Gray, not to be outdone, sped up and pushed just in front of Charlotte. Quicker and quicker they went until they were running and together leapt onto the front step of the house. Their laughter was cut a little short, though, as the wood squeaked and bent violently under their weight, and Charlotte's foot nearly went through. Whoa, the boy looked down. Hey, whoa, man, check it out. He shifted his weight from one leg to the other, this time watching the wood around his sneakers intently, and fixating with fascination at the moans he could draw out of it. No comment. No doubt about it, the blackish spores were rotted through. Charlotte could almost crush a small imprint into the festered gunk with how soft it had become. It was some miracle that it still even held up any weight at all. Then wouldn't it not be creaking if it was rotted and moldy and shit like that? I don't think it would make any sound. It would just be like, you know, it would just not make any sound. It wouldn't creak. But maybe it's like the boards around it are creaking. I don't know. Another soft squeak came then that didn't belong to the mold or wood. Just as their attention was about to wander, the sound jerked them back, and in a quick flash, a tiny whiskered snout poked out of a hole in the step before disappearing again. That's another cartoonish thing, because you would never hear a fucking wild mouse. They are so silent. You will never hear a wild mouse, unless it's like being killed, and it's like screaming. Gray quacked with a disbelieving laugh. Was that a rat? He exclaimed. Wow, they got rats too. Before he could say more, the front door suddenly opened, though just a crack. Enough for half a face of the owner to show through and eye them hostilely with a dark, judgmental, mahogany iris glare. Dear God, what has hell brought to my doorstep? His mind whispered to itself. He looked scrutinizingly over the two boys again. What were they? One was a little bit taller, with an old brown baseball cap on his head, and sloppy black hair that had grown down almost to the nape of his neck. He barely looked old enough to even begin to grow body hair. And his little friend, a shorter kid with skinny knees, and an outdated blonde bowl haircut, looked even younger. A child. The hell are you kids doing at my house? He grumbled. Gray and Charlotte couldn't see too much of him. just a row of oily black bangs above his narrow, dark eye, and that, while he was much more adult-like, he wasn't too old himself. Well, he pressed further, where are your parents? How old are you anyway? That's kind of creepy to ask, but I mean, I know he doesn't mean it like that, but yeah. I'm 13. 13? I thought he was like 10. Okay, Gray, the taller one, naturally piped right up. He nodded at Charlotte then, and he's 11. Gonna be 12 in December, Charlotte made sure to add. And your parents just let you wander around like this? The both of them laughed a little, but it was Gray who again seized upon the opportunity to speak. Yeah, why wouldn't they? We live here, Charlotte butted in. He laughed a bit as he talked, though still amused. Besides, not like we're babies, we're in middle school. I think 13 and 12 is a little bit old to be doing the like, pow, pow, you're dead type games, but then again, they are supposed, that's the whole point of the story, they're supposed to be in a very innocent neighborhood, so maybe they are not growing up as fast as we do it here in real life. Oh yeah? The young man behind the door answered hotly. I'm 17 and I still don't think it's so smart to just go wandering. Especially not up to people's houses. So here's the deal. Okay, this guy was getting chased by the cops and there was gunshots, which means either the cop shot at him or he shot at the cop. Either way, wouldn't he be in fucking jail right now? You know? Like, you know what I mean? Either way, you're not getting out of that. Once you have gunplay with a cop, it's pretty serious at that point, you know? But I don't know. Maybe he's got fucking magical powers or some shit. Blah, 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 blah. 17, Charlotte breathed, looking at him with intrigue. Wow. Yeah, man, when you're 13, 17 seems like so old. Hella funny. I remember when I was 12, like, I was trying to write this one story, which I'll get to later. But, like, it's just so funny, because it's like, I saw, like, 16 as being, like, how I view, like, 40 now, or 35 now, you know? And, like, I don't know, things just change with your perspective, you know? But Gray seemed less impressed. He smiled almost haughtily. Why not? What's the worst that's gonna happen? Worst, the glaring eye answered back. Worst, I could kill you. He's just gonna say this to some rando kids. What if the kids go to their parents, come back, and be like, did you tell my kid you were gonna kill him? You know? Gray laughed. If you try and kill me, I'll shoot you, he answered and held up his finger gun. Bam. He shut the door on them. That's funny. Gray nodded towards a house down the way as he and Charlotte stood inside Charlotte's front yard, chewing bubblegum and leaning on the fence and watching the street for any signs of villainy. You noticed old Frank's been hanging outside a lot more? You know what's funny? I'm reading The Hellbound Heart, so when I hear the name Frank, I think of that Frank. Huh? Sacrificing a particularly impressive bubble, with the gum stretched in a beautifully even pink cheek in front of his young face. Charlotte punctured the sweet rubber with his teeth and chewed its deflated body back into his mouth. That's like the most descriptive fucking shit of popping a bubble I've ever fucking seen. He looked over in the direction of old Frank to see if he agreed. Frank was a man of about 40. 40? And he's old? See, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. And he's not going outside. What a poor guy. What's going on in his life? You know, this poor man. A man of about 40 who was known to wander back and forth across his front porch. Pajama shirt open, cigarette burns littering his chest. Oh my god, that poor man. And little bald patches in the hair in the backs of his arms? That's weird. His face was badly shaved. He drank heavily, and his brown hair was longish, shaggy, and unkempt. And while his stomach was a little pudgy, the rest of him was rather embarrassingly thin. It's weird. This poor guy, what's wrong with him? And he's only 40. 40 seems so young now. You know, like, I'll be 40 in 10 years. But still, it's like, 40 just seems really young. Like, I have been to plenty of parties where it's people that's 40, and they're still kicking, you know, it's like, a lot of people look pretty young when they're 40 now. Like, I mean, people are living longer, you know. I'm sure there's some people who don't take care of themselves, and they're 40, and they look shitty as fuck. But a lot of people, they are 40, and especially if you're like only 40, not even into your 40s, just 40, you know? That's practically still in your 30s almost. Like, almost, you know? And, like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what's the huge difference between 38 or 39 and 40? You know what I mean? Like, it's such a small difference, and, like, yeah, a lot of time I've been to parties, there's, like, people in their late 20s. Like, I say if you're still, like, late teens, early 20s, you look like a baby. Like, people can tell you're really young. But when you start to get into, like, your late 20s, like 27, 28, then sometimes there's not that much difference between a 28-year-old or a 29-year-old and a 40-year-old. You know what I mean? Like, it depends what circle you're in. It depends who you're hanging out with and the people, you know, obviously who they are and everything. But a lot of the time, yeah, I've been to plenty of parties with 40-year-olds, 41, 42. They look exactly the same as the 29-year-olds, more or less. You know what I mean? Maybe they got a little more gray, like, pieces, but sometimes not. Sometimes not. I don't know. You know, whatever. So, where was I? His house was in condemnable shape. The roof and porch were falling in. The door had a busted hinge, and the two small front windows had shutters. Old-fashioned wooden shutters, the only house in the neighborhood, really, which could boast them. They were dangling off by their last screws. Man, this guy's down on his fucking luck. And he's only 40. That's so young. He can change his life around. He can turn it around. He doesn't have to fucking live this way. A shame, since in its prime, if upkept, not unkept, upkept, it probably would be one of the nicest houses. All wood, hand-built with love. What other house in the neighborhood had a wide porch like that to lounge on? Most of them just had a... That's it. Just had... Let me go back to that first page, because I fucked up. I was reading it from back to forward. Wait, now I'm fucking... Had a little single step of concrete. Okay, yeah. That's all. So, yeah, I think that was Superbabies, actually. But, yeah, I don't know. Another story that just ends abruptly like that. Yeah. Alright, next time I'm gonna try to read Famous.